David Garza, Ángel Guerrero,
Guys, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Juan Diego,
Will be questioned.
Oh, yeah.
Got it.
Armando Martínez, Jesús Eduardo,
Yep.
Diego Pérez, ¿verdad?
It's going to be moved to the future. I think it might be on
A ver si no se me pasó nadie. Diego, David, Casu, Alan, Ángel Guerrero, Daniel, Armando y Jesús Eduardo. Ok. Alrighty.
Sí.
Whenever you start speaking, I click on start.
So welcome everyone to this discussion panel. Today we'll be assessing the topic of immigration in correlation to criminality in Mexico. For this panel we have 7 participants. Who wants to say your name? I'm Alan.
Mayor Armando,
Eduardo.
Sergio Flores.
Cafu, David Garza, Ángel.
And first we're going to have a minute for everyone to present their stance on the topic, and our first participant is Alex.
Good afternoon, I'm Alan, and I'm in third semester studying architecture, and my position in this topic is against. I don't think migration coming to Mexico is the real cause of crime and violence, like corruption or even organized crime. Also blaming migrants of crime simplifies a complex reality. We need to examine social exclusion, lack of opportunity, and weak institutions that make the conditions for crime to flourish.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Next participant, Eduardo.
Good afternoon. My name is Eduardo. I'm in third semester of mechanical engineering, and I am also against the idea that immigration coming into Mexico is a direct cause of crime. I believe that crime in Mexico as well is a very complex issue, which, despite having many causes for its existence, I don't think immigration is one of them. Issues like drug trade, organized crime, and government corruption seem to be the most important reasons of crime. Due to this, I hope to make the point during this discussion that immigration and immigrants especially are not a source of crime, but some of their most vulnerable victims.
Okay, next participant, Armando.
Hi, my name is Armando. I'm a student of the 5th semester of engineering, mechanical engineering, and I am against the idea that immigrants increase the crime rates in Mexico. Rather, I believe that the increase of the crime comes more from the increase of the amount of people in vulnerable populations, regardless of what their origin is. And what actually relates to the increase, and that's what actually relates to the increase in crime rates. Which means that to stop the growing crimes, the solution is not just to try to stop migration, but rather to improve the quality of life and opportunities of everyone that belongs to the more vulnerable groups in the population. since immigration is not the only way these numbers increase, we can say that immigration is a sole cause for crime, for the increase of crime rates.
Okay, now, Sergio, if you want to give your stance.
Yeah, and my stance, first of all, good afternoon. I'm Sergio. I'm in first semester of engineering, and I think in favor because I think that in border states the crime rate is increased because they use the immigrants as an extortion tool by kidnap them and also to extortion them because they are like very vulnerable people and they cannot like defend themselves because they are like they are like like they are
Say in Spanish.
they are discriminated. Yeah, and that's my stance.
Okay, next participant, Michael, please.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Santi. I'm a fifth semester mechatronics student, and I am in favor with the idea that the direct immigration have a big impact in crime, especially if it's an illegal migration. Yes, mainly because of previous life style, education models, maturity. This has been completely different from their origin places, like causes the ethical shock between the native people and the immigrant people. And we can use this as an example the cases that recently happened in France in Japan, where it started. Well, I think in Japan it's like a little regulator now, but in France it was a complete chaos. And this happened here as well, not by coincidence. It's by real facts, and I personally experienced some things like this around 2010, where
I'm sorry, but your time is up. Next participant, David.
Hi, my name is David Garza. I'm a student in civil engineering 5th semester, and my position is that it does causes insecurity, and my reasons are that especially illegal immigration, it happens outside the legal system. So a lot of people who are escaping their country, who are actually criminals in their country, are entering freely into these countries. Also, most of them, and there has been proof of this, as they are desperate people, they are joining the cartels here, incrementing the insecurity there is in the country. And it's also a risk for them because they are dealing with these people, these criminals who are the ones who runs all the routes, and they can be extorted, they can be killed, they can be separated from the families and even trafficked as humans. So in general, I just think it contributes to the insecurity in the country.
Okay, next participant.
Good afternoon, my name is Kafu. Talking about the illegal migration, I'm in favor that illegal migration can sometimes lead to more crime, because when they move to a new country, they are often facing like tough conditions, like no jobs, no houses, or discrimination. Those struggles can push some people to do desperate choices. It's known that migrants are bad people, but when they don't get support, they have the need that problems can grow for everyone.
Okay, thank you to each participant. Now we're gonna go with questions, there are no questions. I'm gonna say an open question and everyone can answer it and also reply to each other. Please keep the dialogue respectful and also try to not interrupt each other. And so the opening question is, do you believe that immigration is a direct cause of increasing crime rates?
Well, I think that the migrants are a cause of the increase of the crime rate because the criminal organizations use the migrants to extort them and to kidnap them and take advantage of this to use them and cartel exploit this by using them in situations like forcing some migrants to work for them or using roads for illegal trade.
Someone wants to respond to you?
Well, personally, yes, mainly because the fact that not everybody has the same models, same education, same quality of life, or just by the fact that you're in a completely unknown place for them. Most immigrants go out in search of opportunities, but when this happens illegally, it mostly comes with crime by hand. So these kind of people like takes the first opportunity they see, even if it's like crime involved. If it's a profitable opportunity, they'll take it just to maintain themselves in the line and keep them alive.
Okay, someone wants to respond? As Sergio mentioned, the origin of crime is not migration itself, but like he said, organized crime that extort, exploits, and even kidnaps migrants. This makes migrants the victims of crime and not its cause. Like they suffer the consequences of weak institution and impunity, highlighting the need to focus on dismantling these criminal networks rather than blaming those who are already vulnerable.
Yeah, following on that, I also believe that immigration is not the direct cause of crime, but rather that immigrants tend to be victims of crime. As a lot of the partners you have mentioned, it's not most of the, let's say, immigrant-related crimes are not happening because of immigrants committing crime, but rather they be victims of existing crime and abuse and corruption by the hand of organized crime cartels and even corrupt officials like corrupt police officials, and they're victims of human trafficking across the borders and stuff like that. And even if the amount of crimes perpetrated by migrants tend to be large minority of the migrants that come here.
Okay, someone wants to respond to?
I want to add the fact that a big amount of illegal immigrants, the fact that they're illegally here is part of the crime that they're committing. But like the laws are different depending on the country or the state, so they mostly take advantage of this and do things that they can do in their foreign place. So that's part of the initiation of a crime that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, depending on the laws that are applied on them, especially here.
Answering the question, to be honest, I believe that when they come from different countries, there are people that are very vulnerable because they have the need like to take care of their families, to provide them, and they have the need to do it to survive because they normally when they go to another country, like they don't get support, and they have the need to provide to their families, so they do like all those little things.
Well, I would just like to answer to that. If we look at data provided by INEGI, in 2024, the most affected states by these kind of lesser crimes that you are mentioning, let's say armed robbery or just robbery, extortion, were first Mexico City, then Edomex, followed by Querétaro and Tlaxcala. The states which have the most amount of immigrants, which we have to establish, right? Most of the immigrants that come into Mexico are not looking to stay in Mexico. They're looking to get into the US, right? most of these states that have these immigrants are first Chiapas, second Baja California, and third Quintana Roo. So if we look at data, there is not really a correlation, let's say, between immigrants thinking or wanting to get out of poverty and the actual crimes being committed and the actual number of crimes.
Okay, we go to another question now. What do you think is the impact of organized crime on immigration development?
Well, I'd like to respond that because I believe, like I said, all my arguments are based on the criminal organizations, and I think that they are like a huge factor in this because they control many routes that many immigrants use to cross the country, and they are the migrants are frequently targeted by the criminal organizations, and they use them, like as I said before, to do like the job for that criminal organizations. And I think like they have the 80% of the effect of the crime rate increases and not the immigrants.
Okay, someone else want to answer the question or answer to?
Well, I think that organized crime is to take advantage of immigrants that come to the country. This is mainly because immigrants that come here are very vulnerable people that a lot of times come with nothing, but they do have the hope of having a better life, whether it's in here or across the United States. And due to the lack of legal opportunities and pathways and legal entry, many organized crime gangs and cartels tend to take advantage of these migrants, forcing them to work for them. Because forced labor in Mexico is a very big problem, and people from every, whether it's migrants or from very rural areas, tend to be victims of this. And also, many of them are victims of human trafficking due to cartels bringing them across the border.
Anyone else wants to answer the question or answer to?
Also answering the question, I think is one that has the most direct impact. According to data from the Comisión Nacional de los Derechos Humanos, migrants are often forced to cross territories, and many are assaulted or even disappear along the way. And migrants are fleeing from violence in their country, and they find themselves trapped in another cycle of fear and insecurity.
Anyone else?
15 minutes.
I would like to answer the question real quick. And I think that organized crime affects migration in Mexico. And many people don't live because they want to or they need to live. They live because they're scared of like all the crimes like in Mexico, like all the cartel stuff. And I think they suffer more like on their journey to like from their actual country to wherever they want to go, because like they face in Mexico like all the stuff with the cartel and all that, and I don't know, like I think they are like more, they face more like bad stuff in their journey than like in the actual country.
Okay, and last intervention on this question. Anyone wants to speak?
Like complementing the thing that Sergio said about the migrants being vulnerable, I want to like complement it and treat them like the victims. Like I want to add the fact that the forced recruitment is a real thing that actually is happening. It's like it's more frequently here in the actual time, especially in Jalisco. It's where in the bus centrals are like they're creating fake job opportunities and they public they're like they announcing it in the newspaper, and like immigrants see the newspaper is the most accessible thing to see the news or be like enterados about the job opportunities. So they know, like the first or capacitations come here, Jalisco, Bus Central will pay the bus, and you show here. Then
I'm sorry, but your time is up.
no.
So, last question, only two intervention, please. What kind of public policies could help to reduce crime while also protecting the rights and well-being of migrants in Mexico? Anyone wants to respond?
I think we could facilitate the legal ways of entry for the people who aim to work here, and this would also help to deter people from seeking the aid of organized crime to cross into the country. This will also help up north with the United States if they facilitate the way of legal entry. There will be less cases of so-called coyotes bringing people across the border. And well, this would indirectly also make this kind of human trafficking unprofitable for for gangs and organized crime, which would reduce greatly that kind of crime happening.
Can I add to this? I also believe that just basic safety policies, basic public safety policies would be very well received. Mexico is a country that most of the time do not care about its own citizens. So it obviously cares less about migrants, right? If we are able to protect normal people, citizens from things like organized crime, armed robbery, stuff like that, extortion, rape, then we would definitely be able to protect migrants. But I think first there needs to be like a large reform on public safety in general, so that way we can focus on migrants, because I don't see the government doing anything else before that. And I don't think they will, but I think for it to be helpful for migrants, it has to be helpful for everybody in Mexico.
I would like to add something about that. And I think that Mexico needs to work like with Central America and US to reduce the reason people migrate in first place. And I said that because I think that working together is going to be like a bit easier to stop cartels. And I think that in the end, the best way to fight them is by the best way to fight the situation is by protecting them and not blaming like the immigrants.
Okay. Someone else wants to add?
I think that Mexico should make immigration more safe by protecting people instead of pushing them to leave. I think government needs to like make shelters for them, or I don't know, or maybe like safe routes for them, and free chances to work or stories so immigrants don't have to risk their lives at the same time. The government needs to fight for fair corruption and crime, so both migrants and local communities can live without fear.
Okay, thank you for all the participants. Now we're approaching the end, so to wrap it up, to conclude, I'm just going to summarize some of the points that were discussed in this discussion panel. And while some participants argue that migration can contribute to insecurity due to vulnerability, exploitation, or cultural differences, others emphasize that migrants are often victims rather than perpetrators of crime. And organized crime, corruption, and lack of opportunities are actually the real drivers of violence rather than immigration. And so thank you everyone for listening, and we hope you enjoy the discussion.
Thank you.